Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leo! La mia giornata è iniziata così!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast, but not just another episode, it's the 200th episode. I can't believe we've managed to rack up 200 actual episodes of this thing, both from recording like once a month to, doing our weekly thing now. But yeah, I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Tolgrud.
Yeah, I think I might have the record for appearances out of those 200. Maybe not, actually. I mean, you're pretty
Maybe
close.
we can look it up.
I'm sure we could, actually. Someone else do it for us. Someone listening, just do all of our work, please. And let us know who's had the most appearances. But we also got Madison, who definitely does not hold the record.
I came in like the second season that you guys
exactly
did this. And I put you guys on a schedule, so you're welcome.
Yeah, and you still managed to miss 2 episodes a month. But anyway, lads, let's just spread lots of positive
I put
cheer
you guys
and
on a
stuff.
schedule, not myself.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, on a serious note, thank you to everybody who's listened to, as many of these episodes as you have listened to. If you've listened to all 200, then, thank you an incredible amount. And if you've just kind of discovered what we do and stuff, then hope you like it. And we're going to keep going. Here's to another 200 and all that. And yeah, let's hope to keep going. I mean, another thing that we should say is that we've reached 6,000 subscribers on YouTube too. And we're closing in on 70,000 on Twitter. Like, this thing is growing an amazing amount. It helps that the team are doing well and we've got plenty of interesting stuff to write about. But yeah, thank you to everyone for all your support. It means the world. And to thank you for your support, we will be doing a giveaway. The details will be on the SempreMilan TV Twitter feed, and then we'll share those over all the social platforms so you know how to enter and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. It'll come at some point during the week. Yeah, boys, we have got a busy one. I
have a question for you guys before we get started.
Okay.
What is your favorite episode?
That is a good question.
What was the last one you weren't on?
And the listeners, what is your favorite episode?
Yeah. Comment below what your favorite episode is or your favorite moment. Probably my favorite episode is one that I wasn't even on, and that was when Waleed was on. That was quite a good one. I enjoyed listening.
He's gonna love that you said that.
Yeah, I know, but I enjoyed that a lot, and I want to get him back on again soon. Obviously the Fabron one was Fabrizio Romano one was iconic. That was where it's like, oh, we've made it. But yeah,
I like the Soccernomics one.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that
was just AJ and I.
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly ones when I'm not on, really, innit?
Those are the best.
Yeah.
We had one that did, I think, still our highest views, and ironically, it got demonetized because it had a clip of Kobe Bryant in it, and it was like the week after he passed. But it was in memorandum. It wasn't like we were trying to mooch it, but because it was a video of his on the official Milan account, they nabbed it from us. So Milan doesn't want us to prosper,
Still
but that's
glad we got
okay.
that out there, though.
Yeah. It was a good episode.
Also, I will say the episode where we'd beaten Atalanta to get Champions League and we all had a few drinks while recording. That was so good, man. That was incredible. And
People
I hope
got
that we have
mad at
something. Don't care. We'll do it again in a heartbeat. I really hope we have something similar to celebrate this season, because I think we should just go bigger. Potentially do a live meetup kind of episode. That would be incredible too. But yeah, let's crack on because we've got so much stuff to talk about. There is never a dull week, but this week in particular has been absolutely mental. Let's do Genoa game first, since we better do that. Friday night games haven't really particularly been kind to us. Remember the Udinese draw where we flapped a chance to put pressure on Inter and Napoli. This time Inter put a bit of pressure on us by beating Spezia first. We really had to respond and break our scoreless drought of about 210 minutes against Genoa, who were really struggling but still scrapping for their lives in Serie A. We did it. We won 2-0, responded to Inter's 3-1 win. It wasn't the most free-flowing and swashbuckling of performances or anything like that, but an early goal and a late goal made it pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the highlights. I was going to say was we had a quick goal and then we left it late for the finisher. But Macias got his 5th league goal, so I'm glad that happened because, the bet with Isaac was 5 in all comps, but it was originally going to be 5 in the league. So either way I won, he can't go back on it. That's fantastic for me, and that is my 8th Champions League, so we're good.
I thought it was pretty great that he scored while Isaac was at the game.
Yes,
that actually is like icing on the cake,
Yeah.
I honestly feel like we looked pretty dull for the majority of the game, and we just got like the first goal was great. Second goal was just right place at the right time. Thank God it wasn't Salamaker's. But we scored more than one goal. We scored a goal. So that I think is most important. We also kept as our 7th in a row clean sheet. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
And I watched the entire game. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, well done, mate. Congratulations
Thanks.
to that. I think I remember, I've just read actually, just before recording, that Mignan is now 565 minutes without conceding. He's got some way to go until he matches our record as a club and Buffon's record in Serie A, but still, he's over halfway
surpassed
there.
Donnarumma's best ever season already, so that's
Really?
That is
good
good
to hear.
news.
Yeah.
I mean, we said in the preview, AJ,
This is also a better team, though.
Yes, it is.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
but I do
Yeah.
I do think he's a better goalie. He's older and more mature. But I mean, the defense is also loads better than any defense that Donnarumma had. But for a while, we were the top defense in Europe. It was from like a January to an April, right?
Yeah, I think we still are.
Yeah,
I mean,
was gonna say, I
presume
don't think
we
it's
still
changed.
are now.
I mean, we haven't conceded since then, so.
In
No,
fact, yeah,
but there was a
because
time when Donnarumma was here.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, that was that post-lockdown run, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we said in the preview that we didn't think it was necessarily going to be a really straightforward game because Genoa weren't going to come at us. They had a spell earlier this year where they conceded like 2 goals in 8 games, and 6 of those 8 games were 0-0 draws. So I was like dreading another flat performance and them frustrating us if we didn't get the early goal. But the early goal was key. Bit of chaos before the game that we should mention. Calabria was in and out both ends, not in a good way by the sounds of it. If he'd had a dodgy curry or what, but he was out with some kind of intestine problem, and that meant that Pierre Kalulu had to shift to right back, and Matteo Gabbia came in for Kalulu at centre back, and everyone shifted over. Did a good job. There wasn't really an awful lot of attacking threat from them, and then when Leao scored, beautiful assist by Kalulu. We should say that as well.
Yes, it was fantastic. It was nice to see him as a right back, his natural position for a change. I mean, fantastic center back, but obviously right back is where he's meant to be. So it's good to see the versatility that he could play both. I will say Gabbia left a lot to be desired, coming off injured, and then Krunic had to play as a center back. Only for Pioli today to say that there's absolutely zero issue with Gabbia.
Yeah.
It was silly. I mean,
he said that he brought him off. I think he said he brought him off for cramp. So I don't know. I guess it happens, doesn't it? If you've not played for a long time and then you're expected to play a full 90, especially when we scored early and we're kind of trying to control the game. But yeah, you're right. You should have been able to see out the 90 minutes. The good news is Calabria is okay and should be able to play tomorrow's derby, which we'll come on to. But yeah, the ball around the back, beautiful from Kalulu, just goes to show that he really is actually developing into a natural in both positions. It's been a while since we've had a fullback who can play centre back, but you do start thinking towards the Maldini realms of like very good at fullback, very good at centre back, but obviously he's got some way to go. Yeah, nice finish from Leao. Should be good for his confidence in the closing stages of the season. I can't really think of an awful lot else that happened in open play. It was a case of game management again. I'll put this to you though, before the second goal, let the game finishes 1-0, hypothetically. Do you think that we're looking back at this performance in a completely different light?
I do. Yeah, I think getting a second goal in this game really boosts the mentality going forward, that we finally were able to get over that hump, because it had been 0-0s or 1-0 games for however many weeks in a row, and it was starting to become sort of a trend, a sort of a thing that people were worried about, saying like, they're just not building on it very well. They're not really helping their goal difference, all this stuff. And to be able to get that second one, you saw how much it meant to Macias when he scored his celebration. I mean, that was the most emotion I've ever seen that guy exhibit before, and he scored a Champions League game-winning goal. So, I mean, it obviously meant something to the team, and I think that's going to rally and help us push forward. And we might see some positive results, and then obviously going in the Derby, which we'll get to in a minute here. But I think that'll maybe decide the Scudetto. I think that'll turn the tides.
Yeah, and it was nice to see him have a contribution off the bench as well, because he's just been Pioli's just been rotating him and Salamakers, trying to find one of them some form, and it just hasn't happened. And then he scored a crucial game-sealing goal off the bench there, and that should hopefully be... I mean, if he scores another 3 goals between now and the end of the season, Messias this is, not only is that going to be massive probably in our Scudetto hopes, but might actually be going some way towards keeping him around next season, depending what happens with, other situations off the pitch, which we will come on to. But no, that was pretty good. I was disappointed. I don't know about you two, but I was disappointed that after scoring the early goal, we didn't go for the jugular before half-time like we have done in the past. Or maybe we tried and we just couldn't, which is even more worrying. Long gone are those days where
the jugular, do you mean like since 2021? Or because we haven't been able to do that for some time?
Yeah, I mean, there were
in the beginning of the season, we were hitting like 2+ goals for a while.
We 4-1 up against Cagliari at half-time. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, right, yeah. We haven't been able to do it in 2022. I mean, we've beaten teams by more than 1 goal, don't get me wrong, but you just get the impression that we're not putting teams to the sword anymore like we have done before. I mean, let's be brutally honest. There was 70-odd minutes of play without a goal and without a real major opportunity, bar a couple of half chances, and then Messiah scores one essentially on the counter at the end. So it's not entirely convincing from my point of view, but maybe it's going to help getting that 3 points. See what happens in the cup tomorrow, and then maybe it's going to help that we get these teams coming up who are not just going to defend against us. Maybe we'll find that bit of space, and now we've got the ball in the net, we know how to do it, and we're going to keep doing it. But yeah, I think that's about it. Really, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah,
I mean, Salamarcus was crap. But
I don't understand how he's a professional footballer.
Do you know, I don't get what happened. I'm 25% saying that Giroud should have scored that volley that he attempted because he got a clean enough connection on it, and he was disappointed himself that he didn't score.
I agree.
However, Salamarcas has so much space to run into, potentially shoot himself or cut it back, and instead he crosses first time and it's behind Giroud. We really, really have to be turning those chances into goals against top teams because we ain't going to get many of them. And that was disappointing. But,
what did you guys think about Rebic?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like he's out. Like right there.
Jury's out. Energy. A lot of energy still, don't get me wrong. But he snatches so much at stuff sometimes. And it's like, just take a chill pill, man. Just look up, a bit like Leao is sometimes. But I think Rebic, most importantly, is getting some minutes in his legs. That means that he's going to be fit enough for the last few games of the season. That's the main thing. And then I don't have the same faith about Brahim Diaz that where if he scores, then that might be the start of an amazing run. I really don't see that happening. But with Rebic, I do. Because we've seen it happen twice before where he scored a goal and then gone on a tear. I mean, he was decisive at the back end of last season. So let's hope that he's looking all right again. And I mean, I guess that's tops and flops now, isn't it? And then we can move on. Top is going to be... Do you know what? I'm going to say Kalulu because I've got a feeling that you two might not have said him. I'll go Kalulu because last minute shifted across to right back, having played weeks on end at centre back. Great defensive performance, and then provided an absolute peach of an assist that helped Leao get hopefully a confidence boosting goal. So I'll go with him.
For a 2-0 victory, it is actually kind of hard to pick who was the best player, just because Gabia came off, obviously. Salamakers was bad. Brahim wasn't. Did Brahim even play? No, Kessie started, right?
Mm-hmm. Kessie started as a 10, yeah.
Yeah.
He
had anything memorable. Like the defense didn't have to do much. And Leao obviously had the quick goal, but there wasn't a whole lot after that either. So it is pretty difficult to pick one. I guess I'll go with Leao just because he started off, without that goal. We're struggling to the last minute, so I guess Leao.
I was going to go Leao or Mike. So I'll go Mike, just to be different.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Flop of the match. One thing I will say about Kessie before we get to it, and this does also feed into my flop of the match. I wrote in the 5 things that I thought that it didn't work, playing him as a number 10 again. I thought that he was totally ineffective again against a poor opponent. But then having watched the game back since to do the analysis and whatnot, he was all right. He did a few good dribbles inside the box to create space, and he should have had an assist where he pulled one back to the penalty spot, and Salamanca's just shanked it out completely. So I am going to say on that Salamanca's is unfortunately my flop again. I don't really know what else you can say.
Yeah, I think we need to rename this segment to Tops and Salamakers because this is like what, week 7? Like,
yeah,
it's just not changing. He doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's 2 for him.
How I feel about Salamanca's. There's a great club in Belgium that could use him. Bottom of Division 2, Verton. I actually tweeted at them during the game and offered him to them
as an intermediary.
They only have 2,900 followers, so I know that they saw it.
I don't know. You
don't
have that many.
They have more than me, that's for sure.
Yeah. What else was I going to? Oh yeah. Would really like Teo to just get a goal contribution at some point as well. I was hoping that would be the game where he played himself into a bit of form ahead of the derby, but a bit frustrating from him again. Lack of clarity in decision making and doing that thing where he goes over too easily. Referees are getting wise to it. But yeah, apart from that, everyone else was like a 6 out of 10. Can't ask for much more than the routine 2-0 win. If this was like the midpoint of the season, we'd all be saying, okay, let's move on to the next game. So we'll just do that. Into preview. So the fan base seems to be split on this, between it being a massive game in the scheme of the season and it potentially spurring one of the 2 teams on to go and win the title. Can understand that. That's kind of how it worked last season with the quarterfinal that we lost. And some saying it really doesn't matter if we lose because we want to avoid playing a final in and around those last 2 games of the season because that would be a bit of inconvenience, and also people don't value the cup as much as the league. We got a decent-ish first leg result, a 0-0. Obviously, away goals are still in effect for this season. It's changing next season, but that means that a score draw gets us into the final against either Juve or Fiorentina. How are we feeling, first of all? Are we feeling confident going into this, or...?
I am actually, yeah. I think this is not going to be as difficult as we think, just because there's only one result that doesn't get us through, a loss. And we haven't conceded in 7 games. Our defense is in top form. Add on top of it that it's a derby. Add on top of it that it's against the only team that's truly challenging us for the Scudetto right now. I think there's a lot of motivation, and I think we're in just the right form. Plus, even though we're away, we're still at home. They're going to have more fans than we are, but we've proven time and time again that our away fans are much louder than any home base, including Inter's. It's just, it is what it is. So I don't view this as I just don't see any negative setup. I mean, the first leg was 7 weeks ago. It's hardly like it even was a first leg. This might as well be a one-off again. And I just, we're basically playing a home game where, we get away goals in our favor as well. I mean, there's no downside to this unless we lose. And that is very possible. It can happen. But I don't know. I think this is the true final. This is the people's main event. Whoever wins this is the champion of the cup, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Didn't we draw the first leg 0-0?
Correct.
Yeah.
So why would a tie get us through?
Are you retarded? Did you not listen to anything I just said? Sorry, dumb. I realize we can't say that word anymore. But away goals help us.
Draw? Oh, okay. So
if we draw 1-1 or 2-2 or 3-3, we're through. So basically...
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, well, if we keep a clean sheet and draw, we're not going through on that. So...
Well, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Then that would go to extra time.
Who's the dum-dum now?
You.
200th episode, lads. Let's try to keep a bit of good spirit, friendly relations. Team news, I guess. It's going to be Maignan in goal. Kalulu will return to centre-back alongside Tamori. Calabria will start right back. Teo left back. Then Pioli pretty much confirmed that he's not going to start Brahim Diaz as the number 10. Said that he wants someone who's going to neutralise Brozovic. So my guess is that it's going to be Benacer, Tonali and Kessié again. Then whoever on the right, probably Messias based on his impact on Friday night. then be Leao and Giroud again. And then for them, I think the only injury doubt's Bastoni. He came off against Spezia. It would be a big boost if he was out, because obviously we know how solid their back three can be. And then for the rest of it, it's kind of as you were. There'll be some good battles in there, like Barella against Tonali, Dumfries against Teo again. That'll be really good. Giroud against De Vrij, the rematch. Looking forward to that. And then obviously they've got Lautaro and Dzeko, who are pretty, tough customers if they're on form that day. I don't know, man. I really, really cannot call this. I've had a pretty strong opinion either way going into previous derbies. I thought that we'd lose the away derby this year when we won. I think I thought that we'd lose the cup first leg as well, and we ended up getting a draw. This time, I really can't call it. I think both teams are obviously coming back into it off the back of a win, but it's kind of like mixed form as well for both sides. So I can't imagine there'll be a lot to separate the two teams who don't want to exhaust themselves for big games at the weekend either, So for
Who do
that
we play
reason,
that weekend?
we play
play
Lazio
Lazio
away. So going to come on
It's
to
not.
that.
I feel like we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah. So for that reason, my prediction is that we are going to draw 0-0, and it's going to go to extra time. And we are going to lose in extra time to a fluke goal. Sorry to be so negative, but it just be our luck.
I think this is going to go against everything we're thinking, that we both want to be conservative sides. I think we're going to go all out, and it's going to be a 2-2 draw, and we're going to go through on that.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be nice. Maddie?
Is he frozen? Did we lose him?
He
is staring hard.
I think he's just reflecting. He's just looking at the form guides there and predicting what he thinks. I think his Wi-Fi's dropped again, so I suppose we better just continue.
Move on along, I guess.
Fingers crossed we get to the final. I know what people mean about having an extra game in a difficult phase of the season. That's absolutely true, especially when it's a game with a trophy on it, so we're not going to rotate players for that game. But we've already proven that we can deal with 2 games a week. And I think that the more finals and the more massive games that this young group has under their belt, the better they'll be for it. So let's get there and let's have a shootout against whoever it may be. Is it weird that I'd fear playing Fiorentina in the final more than Juve?
No. I
get Juve have the experience of having been there and done it, and Allegri's a manager who's managed in finals, but Fiorentina look pretty dangerous. I mean, they've put us and Napoli to the sword this season.
Yeah, I would actually be really mad if we lost this game to Inter and then Juve won the final, because they could have beat Inter in the league and we wouldn't be worrying about the Scudetto right now. So I'd be really annoyed if they pull it off in the lesser competition and still get a trophy like both of them do. That would just be worst case scenario. So
yeah. Maddie, what's your prediction before we move on for the cup?
I want to say it's going to be 0-0 and go to a penalty shootout, but I don't want.
You want to say that? I mean, that would be a terrible scenario for me.
I think that's going to happen, but I don't want that to happen because I don't want the players to get tired. But
I actually wouldn't mind it because I think Mike wins a penalty shootout, and I think that would be a massive morale boost for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that would be huge. If Inter were to lose this game, or we were to lose this game in some kind of heartbreaking circumstances, that's when it really can be a pendulum swinger for the Scudetto. Like we lost to that last minute Eriksen free kick. Mm-hmm. Similar vibes, Fingers crossed we get the job done, man. That'd be good because there is a lot riding on it, and I just don't want to lose. Lazio, then we got a trip to the capital after the derby. We are facing a Lazio side who have been really up and down this season under Maurizio Sarri. I think that it sounds like they're going to stick with him, which, after losing Simone Inzaghi and after a few seasons in the wilderness, they're right to stick with him because he is a manager who has an idea how to build things. They've been so up and down this season, though. I mean, they've been as low as 9th and they're currently in 6th position. They're level on points with Fiorentina, who have a game in hand. Atalanta have 2 games in hand on them. They're a point behind their rivals Roma, 7 points off Juve in 4th place. So they're going to keep the fight alive. I mean, they're fighting for a European spot, be that 4th, be that 5th. They want to finish above Roma, obviously. And they score goals. They still score quite a lot of goals thanks to that Ciro Immobile fella. Same question again. How are you feeling about this one?
I think we batter Lazio all the time, and we're away. Our away form is significantly better than our home. If we're going into this game with a win over Inter with clinching our spot in the final, I just don't see us letting up. I think that's going to give us what we need, and it's going to hurt them. And look, Chiro is a flat track bully. He only scores against the small sides. Occasionally gets one against a bigger team. He's gotten some against us before, but I don't think he is anywhere near as good as his goals per season will let him look to be. I think he just piles it on against the small clubs, and that's why his numbers are always so great. But you look at him against the bigger teams, and he struggles. I mean, we drew 0-0 to Torino, but they're coming off of a 1-1 draw. It took them till the 93rd minute to get a Ciro Immobile set piece goal. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about them looking at our head to head. I mean, we beat them 4-0, 2-0, 3-0, or I think they beat us 3-0 in the third one.
They beat us 3-0 away.
It's always a high-scoring game, and it's typically in our favor.
This is big. I think this is. I'm going to say this is our toughest away test of the season because Sassuolo have fallen away a little bit. That's going to be hard. Last game of the season, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they're not going to be fighting for anything, whereas we probably still will be. This is a big game against a team still fighting for something. They've got quality. It's not necessarily Immobile that I'm directly worried about, but Milinkovic-Savic is back to his best. You know, he's got 9 goals, 10 assists this season. If we come into some money, we should definitely look to make an offer for him. That'd be good. But yeah, Immobile is on 25 goals. You can't argue with it. You know, that's 25 goals. But at the same time, I think you need
How many goals?
25.
Okay.
So that's 25. So he scored 2, 10, and another 5.
Which is 5 more than 20.
And 5 less than 30?
Yeah, Let me just check your maths on that one. Yeah,
so it equals 25.
You know, I think Immobile is on 25 goals this season. I don't know.
He's got a quarter century of goals this season. Well, that should be
how many is that? Is that the 25?
I think that's 25, yeah.
Okay.
21.
1A1.
Pedro's on 8, you know. I can't believe he's 34. Anyway, they've got some threats, don't get me wrong. I'd say I'm more worried about the supply to Immobile than anything else. The thing about Lazio is they're so suspect at the back, you know. They haven't been able to settle on a back three, really, this season. Acerbi's leaving as well, by the sounds of it, and so is Luis Felipe. So they've got 2 players in there who just don't want to be there next season. That's not ideal, is it? And let's keep Romagnoli out of the starting lineup just in case he tries some Stefan de Vrij shit and scores an own goal. But I'm feeling pretty good about this one. It'd be nice to have a team that's going to come at us because they need to win to get whatever it is, 4th, 5th, 6th. And I'm going to say that we win this one 2-1.
I think we're keeping another clean sheet.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
And 3-0.
I'm going to say 25-0.
Get a bet on that, mate. I think you'll get good odds.
Yeah, $1 on that, and I bet I'd win a million or something. I'm going to go 2-0 as well. I think we're back to multiple goals, and I think we're going to keep a clean sheet after conceding in the derby.
Excellent. Well, that'd be big, you know. Then if we do win the cup derby and then we win that, then we're on a real roll heading into those final 4. Fingers crossed. Let's move on to talking points. Can't think of anything off the top of my head, lads. Can you? No.
I mean, just one thing.
No, go on.
There's rumors about Donnarumma coming back. That's what I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
About.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a big takeover. It's about to happen.
Yeah. Any trips to Bahrain planned, lads?
Nope.
Any point? No.
Won't be going there ever.
Pretty big. By the time we record the next podcast, or it might drag on a bit longer than that, we could have new owners. This news has exploded in the last 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, whatever, 25 hours. The Bahrain-based investment fund, InvestCorp, are in pretty advanced talks to buy the club from Elliott Management for a sum of around €1 billion, $1.1 billion. That's pretty big news, isn't it? I mean, let's start with what we already knew. We knew that when Elliott took charge of the club in 2018, they probably didn't, as their modus operandi, have much intention of keeping us for, let's say, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years like Berlusconi did. They wanted to clean up our books, make us very sellable again, and sell for a profit. They've invested around about 750 million, I think, at the latest count up, into the club, and they're going to sell and probably make a nice capital gain on the amount that they've invested. That's the way that they operate, Elliott. So we perhaps shouldn't be surprised. But this is it. I mean, we're about to get bought.
Is that investment including the initial loan from Young Hong?
Yeah, I believe
so. They've invested an extra like 450 then?
It's inclusive, and then they've pumped capital in basically as well to keep the club afloat. And before we move on to what InvestCorp might mean for us, really ought to say thank you to Elliott, because they saved the club from effective bankruptcy.
It is wild.
We were all skeptical about how they were going to run the club. Nobody knew all that much about them apart from the Vulture Fund, and that doesn't necessarily suggest they'd be good football club owners, because they're going to try and do it on the cheap. But they actually managed to come in. They got the right people in place with Gazidis and kind of revamped the management at the top level, streamlined the costs, cleared the debts. So the only debts that we have now are not even really debts, but that's a quite complicated thing to explain. And most importantly, they've engineered a turnaround on the field, which has kind of been based around young talents, which means that essentially we are incredibly investable. And it is no surprise that a fund has come along and shown an interest in us. In fact, they're so investable that when Elliott named their $1 billion price, apparently they said no problem. Yeah, they didn't even try and negotiate. They were just like, yeah, that's great.
That's a good sign. That means they got money to spend.
They know the value too. They know the value that we have.
Exactly.
And they're different in the way that they operate. I mean, they're still a private equity fund, but also they invest a lot in real estate. They've been investing a lot in Europe recently. Like in the last year, they've grown their real estate portfolio in Europe to 1.1 billion, which isn't a lot, but it shows kind of a change in strategy. But yeah, they're guaranteed return investors as well. So they're not a million miles away from what Elliott are, but they're probably less opportunistic and more like aggressive expansion. And we are now part of that aggressive expansion. You know, they want to double their assets under management from 36 to around 75 billion in the next 6 years, and we're part of that. So I'm optimistic. Obviously, we await more information on how exactly they are as blokes and stuff, but it seems pretty good, no?
Yeah, I think it's great. And one thing that's been rumored almost immediately after, and I think is great, is that they're willing to just make their own stadium without Inter, and that's something that I thought we should have done since the beginning. Obviously, with Elliott, you know, that wasn't an option because they have to be as cost effective as possible. But here they're saying we get our own stadium, we get all the money out of it, and Inter's stuck struggling in their debts in a stadium that they don't make anything from. So, you know, that not only helps us more, but it hurts our direct rivals, which means, you know, fingers crossed, we might be going into a dynasty era for Milan.
Let's hope so. The stadium thing's interesting. We don't, because the takeover hasn't actually happened yet. You know, they're in an exclusivity period. It's expected to go through, but until they actually come out when everything's done and announce their aims, we're kind of speculating. But there does seem to be some indication that they are willing to go it alone with regards to the stadium. Just to offer some more background on it, the talks have been on for around about a month, and in that same month, another Arab-based fund opened talks with Sunning to buy Inter. And they got asked for $1 billion, and they walked away straight away and said, "No chance. You've got so many debts. You've issued bonds that need repaying with interest, and they have to sell, based on whatever you believe, between 70 and 100 million worth of players this summer. You know, as a surplus, just to stay afloat. Like, you take out all these loans to make sure that your club stays functioning. That money needs repaying." Like, I've been telling Inter fans for so long that this will eventually bite you on the arse. It's just a case of when, not if.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
this is
like a
where we are.
person with credit card debt. You know, they open up a new credit card. That's not free money. That's money that you're being given, and then you got to pay it back, and then some. You know, so
Yeah.
and that seems to be something that Inter doesn't quite understand. I don't know why.
Well, the
but
player
yeah,
sales last summer should have given them the biggest clue they need, and then they replaced them kind of on the cheap. And they're going to be doing the same again this summer. De Vrij's going to be sold, and Lautaro's probably going to be sold. And
yeah,
they
I
probably won't
wouldn't be
care.
surprised if Skriniar goes as well.
Barella's the one that you've got to be panicking about losing, surely, you know?
Yeah.
Or like a Bastoni or something. Those are the players that should be part of the core of the future. I mean, I know some have renewed and all that, but we'll see. Like, no, every player has their price. I mean, Lukaku was saying how happy he was at Inter, and next thing he's at Chelsea's medical centre. So, but yeah,
Well, I mean, it comes down to what the club needs. You know, when Zlatan and Thiago left for PSG, it wasn't because they wanted out. You know, they wanted to stay, but we needed the money. And obviously, the sums then were a lot smaller than they are now for what Inter got for Lukaku. But you know, if the club is struggling and they need money and an offer comes in, they're going to accept it.
It's not like they're being asked to move to Sampdoria either. You know, they're going to another elite club in Europe most of the time. So and they'll have like more of they'll get paid on time. That's a start. You know, but
well,
yeah,
and it never looks bad to the fans. You know, there's no Inter fan is mad at Lukaku for leaving. If they are, they don't understand what's going on. You know, Lukaku still
the Curve Nord, essentially.
Yeah, good point. It is a group
Knuckle
of dummies. Yeah, I mean, there's about 25 dummies in there, but yeah, man, it works in everyone's favor, obviously, except for the fans. But the player gets to move to an elite club. He gets to do it without looking bad to his current club. The club gets the money they need. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and the background to all that on Inter, before we just started ranting about how fucked they are, is that InvestCorp are well aware the dire situation that Inter are in, and they like Elliot do have their doubts about whether they can actually finance their half of this project. And it's not like financing it, you know, I don't know, over the cost of many years, but it's 600 million they've got to find from somewhere, and that is an awful lot of money. And you know they're struggling as it is, so I understand the legitimate doubts about whether they can hold up their end of the bargain. Also, I feel like the whole public debate and the delays that are going on with the San Siro area project, that's going to act as a smoke screen in our favour if we want to build our own thing. Because we can just go to Inter, sorry lads, we've got the money, we need to do this quickly. You know, you're kind of slowing things down. We're going to move to Sesto or wherever and build our own stadium.
Well, and there's a lot
San
less.
Siro.
I feel like there's a lot less pushback from the city as well, because if Inter stays in San Siro, then they get what they want. They get clubs still in San Siro. They're still making their money, and they're getting a little less because there's not two clubs in there. There's not a game every week, but they still get something, and that's better than nothing. So I feel like they're going to be a lot more right.
I was going to say, but also Inter could just try and buy San Siro from the city.
But with what money?
That will never happen. Never. Also, though, that would then raise questions about if they stay at San Siro because they can't build their own stadium. Like, will the council pay for the stadium renovating? Like, because it needs renovation. I mean, they're already shutting areas of it. I mean, it would raise all kinds of problems. I think Inter would be pretty desperate in that situation because we know that a new stadium with both of us would bring an extra 80 million a year in revenue per club. And they're going to be missing out on that gravy train if they don't manage to get in on this project. We could just leave them behind at this point. And I think we should. We've got an opportunity to get a leg up here. Why wouldn't you take it?
Exactly.
So I hope we do, because imagine that. Imagine having everything around the stadium branded for us. Like, it's our area of the city. Like, this is where Milan play. And
it's like not named after an Inter player. That'd be great too.
I mean, he did play for us as well.
Yeah, but let's be real.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be done. What else is there? Pietro Mazzara did a really good editorial today. It seems like none of the picked on it until L'Equipe did in France. So L'Equipe have gone from doing some really good investigative journalism to saying that Donnarumma might come back to be Maignan backup. So take them with a pinch of salt, but they got the takeover thing pretty spot on. Yeah, Massara's come out and done a good editorial. Basically said that InvestCorp are going to be more aggressive in the transfer market. No crazy expenses like PSG or Man City, but a friend told him on the phone, who is close to the situation, that InvestCorp think they're being given the keys to a Lamborghini. which I really like as a simile,
Analogy.
metaphor, whatever.
Like a
metaphor works.
Countach or like a Murcielago?
An Aventador.
Probably like a
SBJ.
Oh, now we're talking.
Ooh.
Aventador. I don't know anymore. Gallardo?
Yeah, I mean
Just
the
naming
Aventador
Lamborghinis.
the Aventador and the Huracan are the only current ones, but they're about to announce the Aventador replacement like next week. But
Yeah, but the Countach
Oh
is
my
like
god! Imagine
the
if we got
80s
sponsored
classic.
by them.
that would be sick,
So
actually.
sick. A black
Just have
and gold
Lamborghini
Lamborghini
across,
away third kit. Oh my god! Right now, let's move on. So yeah, that's happening, and then yeah, they're expected to be a little bit more aggressive in the transfer market. Of course, it took Gazzetta dello Sport, who knew nothing about the takeover. It took them a grand total of 25 hours to come out with a story about how we've got 300 million euros to spend, and we're now going for Christopher Nkunku, Aurelien Tchouameni. Who else was there? Sebastian Haller.
And
Can't remember.
Zaniolo.
Zaniolo, yeah, 50 million rated.
Yeah.
Nicola Zaniolo.
It's just so funny because you
Yeah,
look at
they
how
know
Elliott's
nothing.
operated the last year, 2, 3 seasons, however long it's been, and not once are the names that are leaked to the press who we actually go for. Like rarely are they legitimate links, and you find out about our players like a week before the deal's done. And all of a sudden now they're like, oh, this takeover that no one knew about, it's in the news, and we reached out, and not only has Maldini given us the entire transfer list now, but it's set in stone with this new ownership that's not even in charge. It's like, just shut up, just go away.
Yeah.
But that's how the media operates. It's fun to dream.
I mean, look, people sometimes come at us for reporting certain rumours and saying, how can you really believe this stuff? And the answer is we don't. However, you can relay the information, and more often than not, it gets an interesting dialogue going, more so than anything else. It's like, if we really had 300 million, which we probably don't because FFP is still a thing, who would you spend it on? That kind of thing. It can be interesting to play fantasy football in that way. But with regards to the spending, it's worth noting that we have got to meet UEFA to discuss the settlement agreement. They're obviously really impressed with the improvements that Elliott have made. We actually generated a small profit for the first half of this season, which is really good. We're expected to make still a 40 million loss-ish because the Casa Milan sale was factored in and stuff. But it's still a massive improvement and still so much stronger than our rivals in Serie A. All positive signs on that front. Obviously, FFP is changing. So your squad costs can be no more than 70% of the revenue that you make. That has to be the case from 2024 onwards. So we've got like a 2-year adjustment period. We're currently at 90%. Everyone else in Serie A, bar Atalanta, are screwed, basically. So we've got a little bit of tinkering to do, but our revenues are going to keep going up and up because it's post-COVID. So we should naturally find our way to that mark. And then it's, off you go. We know what our limit is. We know what we can spend. We'll hopefully make some money from player sales. I mean, Hauger's going to Frankfurt for 12 million. Caldara will go to Venezia permanently if they stay up for 4 million. We're getting some money from Pessina clause. Like we're still getting some good proceeds transfers and stuff. And then let's see if we can push the boat out a little bit. I think.
Well, and one of those things that
one
thing that you got to look at is, that revenue. The limit, the 70% of your revenue, you could raise your revenue as much as you want. Just more sponsorships. And Gazidis has been getting sponsorship after sponsorship after sponsorship. They get a new owner who is backed by a couple state-owned funds. They got all this stuff. All of a sudden, you might get some dodgy deals coming in worth a lot more money than they should be. All of a sudden, that 70% is double what we're currently spending, and we got room to blow money.
I thought about this just before recording. So, Investor Corp are 20% owned by Mubarand, I want to say they're called. I might have butchered that.
Mudabala.
I'm going to have to look it
Mudabala.
up. Mudabala Investment Company, yeah, that's right. So they're basically a sovereign fund of Abu Dhabi. And they've got a big hand in this takeover, if you believe the majority of sources. So it could become a puppet kind of Abu Dhabi vehicle for investment in a football club to try and maybe rival the Qatari funds and the Saudi funds. And also got me thinking, we are apparently going to renegotiate the agreement with Fly Emirates, who are our principal sponsor, be quite interesting if that rose to 30 million, 40 million a year all of a sudden out of nowhere, and obviously
Or
that
even
was
more.
an Emirates-based airline. Nexen Tires are part of the Muba, we call them Muba, and also
WeBet or WeFox, yeah.
Yeah, so does it all start to click into place now? And those visits to Dubai make a lot. I mean, I know it's, they're a Bahrain fund, but if they have got a bit of a hand Abu Dhabi guys, and those trips out to the expo and stuff make a lot of sense. I mean, I bet Gazidis was going around saying, we're about to be bought. Do you want in on this or not?
Yeah, I mean, at the time that they were there, that was absolutely when the talks were going on.
If he was saying, do you want in on this, it would have broken sooner. Like, he could have mouthed off to the wrong person.
Well, no, I think he mouthed off to the right people, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's still come out, ultimately. Maybe before they hoped that it would, but it still came out. And, just interesting. A lot of bits start to click in your mind, and you're thinking, yeah, this has been going on for about a month, and things start to make a bit more sense. Obviously, we will probably do a bit on this each time we record from now on, and just talk about how things are going, updates on targets, updates on whatever direction we're heading, stadium. But just for the time being, it is good bit of dialogue, nice and exciting.
Make it Bahrain money, Sorry, that was a terrible pun.
That might be the title. That might be the title.
Okay,
might be.
Go.
And then let's do some questions then, boys. Oh, I said it like that. Sabashwar Singh asks, considering the takeover takes place, presuming the takeover takes place, what should be the number one priority? Number one, getting rid of the internal salary cap. Number two, no longer being interested in only young, high potential players and going for more recognised talent.
I think if you get rid of number two, you get rid of number one as is, because you can't have this salary cap as low as it is when you're not getting just young players. And I do think that you need to shift your attention from young, high potential players to ready-made players in their prime, stars on the exit of their prime. Like the player at a caliber that's going to consistently compete and win titles. Like, we've been lucky with what we've got. Let's be real. We're getting young players who are unproven that just happen to be able to compete at a high level, but that's a big question mark. And you can't do that forever. And now that the objective is no longer to get the wages under order to sell, now that there is a sale, now it's let's be a football club. Let's win games. Let's win titles. So, yeah, you get rid of that philosophy, and that gets rid of the salary cap. And, I guess there isn't one direct answer, but it's going to be a big change.
Yeah, Elliot, aren't they? I mean, they came in, and one of the first things they did was instated Gazidis as CEO because they knew that he was going to keep things keep a tight ship and control expenses, and that internal salary cap came about. But even under Elliot, we made exceptions for the right players. And my gut feeling is that InvestCorp will not have such a policy. I think that they will trust the people who are in charge, but they probably won't be as strict with setting limits. They'll do everything with a player by player, like merit basis. So, for example, an opportunity to sign Dybala, whereas Elliot might have said no because it's 3 million above the internal budget. InvestCorp might be like, well, it's a free transfer, so we can afford a bit more in the wages, kind of thing. Like, they might just be a bit slacker in that sense. On the management, I mean, let's see what happens. Obviously, the takeover's got to go through and all that, but I think Maldini and Massara are going to stay. I think that the reason we're so investable is partly because of their work, and I don't think Pioli's under any immediate threat either. But then you start to look at other positions. Would InvestCorp want to bring in their own CEO? I mean, my theory is probably yes.
Yeah, I think Gazidis might be out the door.
I mean, could Gazidis move to a slightly different role within the club, or is he going to not accept having his CEO title taken from him? Like, the way I think about it is Elliot came in and the first thing they did was like, Gazidis is our guy, we're going to poach him from Arsenal. InvestCorp will have their guy. They will want to work with a CEO who is arguably the most important board member at a football club. They'll want him to be someone that they know.
Well, and I think it comes down to what their objective with the club is. When Elliot got Gazidis, it was because they knew that he could get things stable, get a bunch of sponsorships to help raise that revenue, but he might not be the top club level guy. You know, he might do a good job of getting clubs from a struggling area to a stable area, whereas InvestCorp might want someone who can take you from competing to dominating, and I think that might be more what they want.
Yeah. I also think Paolo Scaroni's days as president would be numbered in that case as well. You know, I
Well,
think
what does he do?
How long has he been in? Like,
So he's
what,
just
I don't
a,
understand what his role
what's
is.
what's the thing that it says?
The
Like
figurehead.
a figurehead.
That's what I was
Yeah. He just comes out and talks about the stadium, and then when he's asked who's going to win the Scudetto, he's like, "I don't really care. I just deal with the budgets and the new stadium, and that's about it." And you know, he's always said, "I'm not bothered about the Scudetto. We've budgeted to finish fourth." And like, I don't think I've never taken to him as a bloke. I just don't think he interviews well, and you never see him unless he's talking about something that us fans don't really care about. Whereas I think that you know, the takeover of Man City, for example, the president of Man City is part of this MUBA fund, you know, so like they're probably going to want to instate their own president at the very least, if not a CEO. So that's interesting.
Maybe they take him from Man City. But hey,
that'd be good, wouldn't
with the
it?
scenery.
Next cue from Rohit. This is about the Inter game. What approach do you like Milan to take? Play tight at the back, try to nick a goal if possible, and accept going to penalties, or go all out to get the away goal and then defend?
I think we need to play our game. How we play every game.
Yeah.
Just win.
Shit.
No, I think Maddie's right. I mean, we shouldn't change our approach to this just because there's alternative routes to go through. I think we play how we play, which is start strong, push for an early goal, and then try and get a second if we get it. You know, I don't think we're not an overthinking club. We either do what we can or we underperform. So it's one of
trying to galaxy brain it like Guardiola does in finals.
Exactly.
But if we get the first goal tomorrow night, it's bloody big, because then they're going to have to come at us and we potentially get a second. And then it's like, good luck, you need 3. You know, that if we go 2-0 up, for example, we're looking pretty good. But don't know, like if we go a goal behind, that's the thing about the away goal, which is strange. If we go a goal behind and then we equalise, that goal's worth 2, because all of a sudden we're primed to go through. So I don't know, it's scary. Like even if we were
that's why I don't
down,
think there's a lot of stress. 1-0 down, like we lose at 1-0 down, but I mean if we go one down early, it's the same thing as being 0.
What's weird is if we're 1-0 down going into the last 5 minutes and we're pressing and we equalise, we're through. It's like a winner, even though we've only equalised. So we'll see, man. I'm just going with the flow. I mean, I'm seeing like
that's why I think it plays into our favor, because they have to score and they have to score more than us. So they're going to push hard, and we get that early counter. They're going to push. Mike saves it, kicks it deep. Leao assist, or Leao goal right there. Boom, boom. Now it's in our hands.
Boom, boom. What, like Piontek?
Yeah.
Imagine if we celebrated like that. That'd be fantastic. Milanista. I know the claims are absurd, but just for fun, if Maldini and you had 300 million this summer, who are you spending it on? I'll start by saying that I like the Nkunku links. I know that you don't like him, AJ, or rather you probably
no. I just put that because
stats. Yeah,
it was literally just because the whole tweet was bullshit. So I was like, oh, no ballers. Like this paper's just making shit up. That's all it was. And
people went for that though. They were like, oh, you've never watched. I'd go for Zaniolo.
To be honest, I was just tweeting shit from the bar, and I didn't read any of my mentions. So I didn't even know. Was I getting hate? I probably was.
No, not too much hate. Just people randomly suggesting that Zaniolo's worth the investment, which he's got both knees made of metal.
Yeah.
Nkunku is the one that I really want.
Is he the one who hasn't missed a game in like 3 years or something?
Are you thinking of Inaki Williams?
Maybe that's
right.
Yeah, Inaki Williams, who's got 6 seasons in a row where he's played every game or something like that. So Nkunku's got 30 goals and 18 assists in 43 games for Leipzig this season. He's pretty good. He's a number 10 that can also play on the right wing. If we've got whatever it might be, 60 mil to go towards a forward now this summer, get him in. He makes a difference.
I think we go for Dybala if this deal gets done.
Why not both? You know, because like one's a
300
free.
mil.
I want to go for Holland. Not gonna lie, I think he'd kill
I
it.
do too. I do.
But he's
too.
also been injured a lot.
Yeah.
I wonder if this summer we might just miss out on certain stuff because the takeover is probably not going to be done in the next few days. It sounds like they're going to wait until the end of the season out of respect for, like, you know, the fact we're fighting for a title and stuff. Then it makes you wonder if we might miss out on certain deals if it's not done until partway into the transfer market. Dybala could have his club done and dusted in the next week. We don't know.
But
I think
also,
it might be.
clubs will hold us for ransom if they know that we're trying to spend now. They'll be like, all right,
Maybe
add on an extra 10 million.
Maybe that's why they're leaking out that they're not planning on spending loads and loads of money, because then clubs will think, okay, we'll sell our player, and then next thing you know, we've bought every single good forward.
Yeah, I
in the
think
world.
the deal will be done, but not announced till the end of the season. Like, I think there'll basically be a shadow regime kind of working. Like, look, these are our targets. Go out and get those pre-agreements. Don't sign it until we take over, but get those on paper. Like, I think that might be more what we see. I wouldn't be shocked if Dybala is announced as like a free agent before he announces a new club.
Does he want to come to Milan?
I mean, he's been in talks with Inter, and Inter doesn't have money. So if we offer it to him and he's like, well, I've already been house shopping there, well, okay.
Yeah, true. Also, we may now have a new shiny project to sell to him. Like, these are our new owners. They're not messing around. Here's the salary that you want. You're going to be part of something pretty good here.
Yeah.
Just bear with
Well,
us.
and
It needs to be built around you.
You look at it like, look, Juve is not qualifying for Champions League potentially. That's the end of them. They have the most expensive coach. They're losing Dybala. They got this expensive player in Vlahovic. They just renewed Cuadrado on way too much money. Like, they're in a downward spiral. Inter is potentially about to go bankrupt. They got to sell their people. Like, it may very well be Milan or bust in Italy for the next few seasons. So you sell that to Dybala, a guy who's coming off 6 Scudetto in a row up until last season. Then you're like, maybe I do want to go back to that dominant side, and I get a starting role in a club that's not going to bench me with a manager I don't disagree with. Like, why would you not? And if we can pull off the Scudetto this season, then it makes sense. Go for it.
I still think he goes abroad, to be totally honest. But yeah, if there is a fit in Italy, it seems to be us. I don't see how it could be Inter unless they sold Lautaro, and then it's like, is it actually a downgrade? I know Dybala's a better player overall, but Lautaro somehow gives you 20 goals a season, and is Dybala going to give them that? I don't know. So that would be an interesting dynamic.
Well, and they would just be replacing Çalhanoğlu, who they just brought in, which I get, but I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't make sense for their formation.
I would have spent
Other than they know
million.
that they gotta trim wages, and they're just replacing them with the free options. That's what they did last summer.
Yeah, I would have spent 300 million. I'd still do the Botman deal. That seems to make a lot of sense at 30 million. I'm not going to do like a forensic adding up of numbers here. I think we need a new starting striker. The name that I really want is Darwin Nunez, but I think he's got like a 70-80 mil release clause.
80.
So I'd be trying to negotiate that down a little bit.
Well, and I think he's already been talking to United as well.
I mean, look, that should be a sign. Top clubs want him. We should throw ourselves in the ring there. Rui Costa, friend of us. And then I really like the Nkunku links. If we get anyone from Leipzig, then getting him would be good. What else do we need? Another central midfielder. If we can now spend big on a central midfielder, you're probably going for... Tchouaméni's a good link. He's a really good player for Monaco, but you may be going for a more established name than that, aren't you? That's the thing. Mine's worrying. Don't know. Tell us in the comments how you'd spend 300 million.
I'm going big Joey D up top, Jonathan David. And then I'm bringing in Valverde from Madrid for my midfield. I think I am still going Asensio. And I would try and get Di Maria on a free as well. And then Dybala on a free, Botman, and Renato. And that's probably 300 right there.
I agree, except I would bring in Holland.
That's a lot of our budget gone, but yeah.
That's a third of it. Well, I mean, he's got the 75 million release clause.
It depends if they mean transfer fees or if they mean like in total, including wages, because Barcelona, I think Barcelona said that they'd talked about a deal for Haaland and they'd added up the package would be 250 million when factoring in the fee, commissions, and wages. So yeah, let's not. Even though it would be amazing. Max Lombardi, if you've got to call it right now, are we going to win the league?
Man, we've had a really positive episode.
Think so.
Why'd you got to do that?
So.
Yeah. I mean, just mathematically, we got to win every single game, and Inter has to drop points in at least one game. So it's not in our favor right now, and we're getting closer to the end of the season. There's less and less games. So I'm going to say no until Inter drops something. If Inter drop points, then yeah, we're back. But right now,
if we win every game, we'll win the league.
No.
If
Not
Inter,
even
no, I know. If Inter drop points this weekend and we win and we go ahead of them, we won't win the league. But if it happens like one of the last 2 weekends, then I see us winning the league because we're better at chasing than we are at holding the lead.
And I agree with that. And I think we also, I don't think, we know we do better against the bigger clubs, which we have on paper harder games now than we did the previous stretch, which, to be fair, we only dropped points in 2 of those games, and it's not like we lost. We just couldn't score. So if our scoring's back, then we might be good. Plus, the clubs that we're playing now are going to actually attack. They're not going to just sit back and wait. So we have the counter, which is what we do best. That's why I think we're going to actually perform here.
The teams we've got coming up have got like worse defensive records than the team we've just played, because their strength is to attack and they leave space, whatever. That Bologna game, I don't think it's a stroll anymore like it might have been 2 months ago for Inter whenever it was originally meant to be played. Bologna are tough, as we found out. So that might be a difficult one for them. But yeah, I don't know. They've still got to play Roma. A lot of people are kind of looking over the form that Roma are in. Both Napoli and Inter have to play Roma. Napoli played them tonight. And Roma are on a roll. You know, they really are pushing for fourth. So that's pretty big. I mean, I would say that Roma are probably the hardest opponents that any of us have left, and we don't have to play them. You know, we've got Atalanta, Fiorentina, Sassuolo.
Oh, yeah,
we have to play Roma.
I thought we did. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a tough one. It could come down to that weekend, let's say. But, I'll apologise as well at this point to Lorenzo and Pete and others who asked questions that we've naturally talked about throughout the course of the episode. But that's it, boys. Probably bang on an hour there, maybe. But thank you to everybody who has listened to this landmark 200th episode. As mentioned, we will have a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done already. And thank you to everybody who's listened to however many of the 200 episodes that we've done. 200 more to come and beyond. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ.
Anthony Torgrud. God, every week we do
every
this.
Mine
is so hard.
God damn it, I almost got it right.
All right, there's my stuff, Torgrud45. And
yeah.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Can't wait for another 200. We'll see if we go in another 200, but we'll be here.
I'll be here.
I'll be here. Just statistically, one of us might die before then. But anyway, thank you very much. What a way to end the episode. Thank you very much for watching and listening, everybody. We'll catch you in a week's time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, Ibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono.